Today I'm going to be talking about my current top 10 games for the Nintendo 3DS. This was the last true handheld console that Nintendo made, since now that they have their hybrid console in the Switch, they may end up making most, if not all, of their consoles in this way if it seems that it is the best way for them to sell consoles. But of course, like in any of these videos, there's going to be games here that you may not agree with, and those that I haven't played that you believe should be here. So let me know which games you have in your top 10 in the comments below, and let's get into the video. Starting at number 10 is New Super Mario Bros. 2. This is part of the New Super Mario Bros. Series where things did feel very similar to each other. Now, the thing that differentiated this game from the others is that it was all about the coins. Each level had coins everywhere that you could look, and they made it a point to have you go around and try to collect as many as you can. There were ways to help you collect more by getting things like the golden flower, where everything you shot would turn into the coins, golden blocks that would end up on your head if you hit them enough, and moving would get you those coins, or the gold rings that would change every enemy around you into gold versions of themselves. Now, if you've played a New Super Mario Bros. Game, then you definitely understand how things control, so you'll be fine in that department. At number 9 is Mario Party Star Rush. Of the Mario Parties on the 3DS, it's the one that I like the most. The main mode is where everyone is a toad and you all move around the board at the same time to collect coins, items, get to the bosses to get stars, and run into other characters to be able to get them on your team and be able to use their dice as well. The main mode ends when the amount of bosses that are on a specific board are all defeated and everyone's star count is counted up to see who wins. There's a bunch of other modes in this game as well to mess around with, including one that is basically the main board mechanic of the top 100. Yet somehow here there's 3 boards and only one in top 100. It blows my mind how that even is a thing. But the other really good mode is the Coinathlon, which will be returning in Jamboree with a new name being Koopathon. You know what? There's a lot of similarities between this game and Super Mario Party if you really think about it. Coming in at number 8 is Mario Golf World Tour. This installment of the Mario Golf series is around the top for me. It doesn't matter if you get a par, birdie, bogey, or whatever. Every time, each character is just really expressive with everything. Plus, aside from maybe Toadstool Tour, it's the best feeling to actually play golf in. This game has a story mode in it, and I'm happy that they kept them going in the handheld game, since every handheld prior to this one had a story mode. There's a lot to do in the game, but of course, you're going to be mainly playing the main mode, where you can play on some normal courses, or you can play on some of the courses that are Mario themed, which I love that this game decided to put both versions of those courses in it. Now at number 7 is Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. When it comes to the Sun and Moon and the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I prefer the second versions, even though there are some parts of it that aren't as good as the original. But in this generation, we're in Alola, where instead of going around to battle the gyms to collect the gym badges, we're doing trials to collect Z crystals and get the approval of each person who is basically holding on to them to complete the game. While it's nice that this generation decided to do something different, I just prefer the style of going against the gyms more. One thing that this game and generation did take out that I kinda wish they didn't was the rival, where they had the upper hand on you, at least by choosing the starter that had the type advantage. This was the first game where you had one rival that picks the weaker type, and it's been that way ever since. Like, come on, Game Freak, make me hate the rival Or at the very least, make the rival have the type advantage on me at the beginning of the game. At number 6 is Tomodachi Life. This game has you creating Miis to put on an island together where they interact with one another, and it's your job to either to get them to talk to one another, you feed them, you play with them, or you just help out with some things that they may want. Some of those things, including eating, are maybe giving them some new clothes and or giving them brand new interior designs. This game is one that's more meant to be played over a wide period of time to allow everyone on the island to get used to each other and become great friends, enemies, or even lovers. Each day will also have new clothes, foods, hats, interiors, and a whole bunch of other stuff to give to your Miis as well. They all live their lives working at the different stores or even broadcasting the news. Now, where else than here are you gonna find a game where you can have Mario become best friends with Brock from Pokemon? Starting the top 5, I have Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I never got into the 3rd generation when I was much younger, and the 4th generation was my first introduction into the series. From there, I played the remake of the 2nd generation, and when it was time to play the remake of the 3rd generation, I was all over to finally experience it, and I had a blast playing it. For all of those who know of Ruby and Sapphire, you know about how this game is and works, but in the remake, you have some differences, like being able to sneak around in the grass to sneak up on a Pokemon that may have a higher power level, or maybe has a unique ability. They also brought back the Mega Stones from X and Y to allow you to Mega Evolve your Pokemon. This game redid the Generation 3 world, and it did it really well. Actually, wait, 7 point out of 10, too much water. Coming in at number 4 is Mario Kart 7. Believe it or not, this is the 7th installment in the series. I know, wild shit. This game brought some interesting things to the series itself for the first time. This game was the first to allow you to ride underwater instead of it being an instant out of bounds, and the first to make it to where you could glide around with hang gliders attached to your carts. These two things made the ability to create courses more unique rather than just staying on the ground, or if you end up being in the air, it's more or less you're just launching yourself from one area to another. They also added in the ability to create your own cart so long as you have the parts for it. All of these things I'm very glad are in and continue to be in the series. Oh, also, this game has the best Rainbow Road, and you will never tell me otherwise. At number 3, I have Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. This is basically Smash Bros. For the Wii U, but with some differences in the modes. Now, because this game came to the 3DS, it made it to where they couldn't include characters that were in past games that they wanted in these games, like the Ice Climbers and the Pokemon Trainer. At least for the Pokemon Trainer, they decided to make Charizard his own character, so I'm cool with that. Now for the modes. First, we have the classic mode where you choose your difficulty and go along a road to choose which destination you want and face off against either one, multiple, or even a giant character from that series, all the way until the end where you'll take on either Master Hand and or maybe even a Crazy Hand as well. The other mode that I just wish came out instead for the Wii U version is Smash Run. This is Smash Bros. Version of Kirby Air Ride, where you go around a giant area collecting things to boost your stats, and if we could have just had this on the Wii U, with being able to play it online with friends or randoms or whoever, it would have been perfect. But alas, it's on the 3DS, and you could only play locally with friends if you wanted to play it with others. Such a good mode, just unfortunately stuck on the inferior way to play with others. Just a shame. For number 2, I have Pokemon X and Pokemon Y. This was the first Pokemon to go into 3D, and you'll have people who loved it for doing that, and those who think it is the biggest mistake that Pokemon has made. But I mean, of course they were going to put Pokemon into 3D at some point. I do hope, though, that we can get to a point where a Pokemon game in 3D ends up looking absolutely beautiful. But back to the game. Pokemon X and Y were the first to have unique battle mechanics, and this one had Mega Evolutions. Certain Pokemon around the region have stones that you could pick up and collect that once you get a Mega Ring, it will allow you to Mega Evolve one Pokemon per battle to get an increase in stats and, of course, just kind of make them look cooler. One other thing that I want to point out for now are the mobility options. You start with being able to run, and after a while you'll get some rollerblades to be able to skate around, which feel nice to use, and then you get your usual bike as well. I personally think that having all 3 of these ways to move around is probably the best way that they did it for the normal movement for the players. Now at number 1 is Super Mario 3D Land. This was the first new 3D Mario game to be on a handheld, since Super Mario Bros. 64 DS is just a remake of Super Mario Bros. 64. In this game, Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser, shocker, and you have to go through a 2D Mario-esque world that has 2.5D levels, and unlike all the other 3D Marios, there are star coins to collect like the 2D Mario games, and flagpoles at the end of each of the levels. Now, one thing that you're going to notice when playing the game is that you're gonna most likely want a Tanuki suit on you at almost all times. They really made it to where you're gonna need it for a lot of the star coins, and of course it doesn't have to hurt them on hand for landing on top of the flagpoles as well. For a 3D-esque Mario game on a handheld, I don't have really too many complaints about it, but I will say that doesn't mean it's one of the best 3D Marios in the series. That is my top 10 3DS games as of now. Like I said earlier in the video, let me know which games you guys have in your top 10s and which games you think I should play to maybe have in mine in the future. Anyway, I'm gonna go weep in a corner since Smash Run really only was an in-person experience if you wanted to play it with friends. Well, if you had friends that wanted to play it with you.